Hello adventurers, it is I, Solo Adventure, and welcome to my YouTube channel. And for today's video, we are going to be doing a little update on my board game that I'm making, and it is called Valodir, the Fantasy Adventure Game. And so I have finished the map over here. So this is the region of Valodir, and you can see there are 4 different areas of this region. We have Arlam, we have Norgamu, and then we have Barwood and Moharad. And I want these 4 different regions to kind of have different pros and cons to them. And there are towns that you can visit here. I think each one should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so I think each region should have 5 towns that the player can explore. And we do have a capital city, and that's going to be kind of where a lot of different, I guess, like political things that would be happening. Maybe a lot of like trade as well. And then we also have in each region unique dungeons as well that the player can explore. And so I want the towns to be able to have a lot of like NPC interaction, some market actions, and then I want the capital cities to kind of be the pinpoint place of where you can hire henchmen and they could help you on your quests. And stuff. And so yeah, I'm still trying to like work out the details here, but I definitely want this notebook to be a notebook for towns and maps here. And so yeah, this is going to be a very long a long-term project, but it's simply just a for fun project. I'm not going to be releasing this publicly. I just want to use it for fun and just something to train my world building skill here. And so if you noticed with this map, there are 4 dungeons in all of Valodir, and I did just create over here the dungeons. And so here are the dungeon cards, and then here are the dungeon level cards. So each dungeon will have 3 levels, and each dungeon level will have different modifiers for traps, for monsters attacking you, etc. And so there are 3 levels, so you have to go through the dungeon, you have to go through the 3 levels, and then at the end is when you are done. And then you also have these dungeon rooms. So here I have treasure rooms, and then I have actual like dungeon rooms. Then I have corridors here, and so I have a boss monster who will be kind of the main dominion of that dungeon level. More rooms, corridors, an altar room. When you get to the altar, you can heal, or you can take an action to pray to the gods, and you make a roll, and then you see if that is a successful roll, and the gods will grant you a +1 modifier for attacks for that dungeon level. So there's that. Whoops. And then these are rooms. So basically, I want rooms to be I want rooms specifically for monster encounters. And then these corridors, so there's going to be 3 in each dungeon level. So these 3 corridors are going to be specifically for traps. And then here, I already explained the altar room, and then you have a boss monster. In treasure room, it'll grant you a legendary item roll on that table. So you basically shuffle all these up. It'll be similar to like tiny epic dungeons where you will be kind of building out the dungeon room here. And so we are on level 1. So over here, all monsters attack with a -1 damage modifier, and then traps have a +1 modifier for damage. Corridors have traps, rooms have monsters, except for the treasure room and altar. Those are safe. And so we are in dungeon level 1 right now. So I would be taking like a mini or something. and I would place it here to know that this is where I started. And then the next card I draw, I have a choice if I want to put it here, here, or here. And then I see that I have a corridor, and then I can go here, and then I can do that. Put a room here if I want to. I can go like that or like this. So yeah, I kind of just want it to be something where the player can like map it out. And then I also am wanting to put a what's it called? Like a little dungeon door. So I'm gonna draw over here like a dungeon door to signify that once you draw this card and it's a dungeon door, that means that it has triggered the next dungeon level. So now you would be in dungeon level 2, and then that's where you're going to shuffle all the cards again, and then you will do dungeon level 2. And then for dungeon level 3, that'll be like the same thing. So I don't know if I want to put this randomly like in here, or it could be like the end game trigger where once you draw out all the cards and you mapped out your dungeon, then when this pops up at the very end, that means that it's signaling you to go into the next level. But yeah, so I'm not exactly sure how I want to do that yet, but I kind of like the system where a card over here will kind of tell you when the next level of the dungeon is triggered. The next update is I want to create these kind of zines, which will be kind of like game books for Valodir. And so I'm going to use this for my character sheets. So I'm going to have some like stats over here. So I want 4 different types of characters. So I would have like maybe a fighter, a magic user, etc. So I'll be having it here. So there will be 4 different characters. So there will be 1, 2, 3, and 4 over here. And then probably these 2 pages at the front and the back are going to be either like rules or tables for modifiers and such. So there's that one. And then these 4, I want it to be specifically for each of the 4 regions of Valodir here. Yeah, so I'm going to have one that is for Arlam, Norgamu, Barwood, and then Murharad for these 4 zines. So that's kind of how I'm like picturing it. They will have tables for these specific regions. And then I am going to make another one, probably not a zine format, or maybe I will, for specifically the dungeons. So tables for the dungeon monsters, for the boss monster, and traps. And I'll probably write out the rules in that little booklet to remind myself that traps are correlated with corridors, and then monsters would be rooms. So that's a little bit of kind of what I have so far with like my little artsy side of updates. And then, so if you've heard, I am going to be using the basic fantasy role-playing game rules 4th edition for this game. And so I do want to use these rules to create the characters. So there are going to be 4 races: dwarves, elves, halflings, and humans. And I'm not sure yet if I want to have specifically these races, because there are 4 regions. Like maybe I can choose 4 regions that would kind of have certain races as the majority in that region. I'm not sure yet, but anyways, yeah, I'm still trying to like figure out the world building there. But yeah, so I'm going to be using basic fantasy role-playing game, and then I'm also going to use the monsters in this game as well. And that is where I'm going to kind of draw some inspiration for monsters, and obviously I will adjust some of their stats to make it more fair for a solo player. But the cool thing is that I also came across some solo rules. Yeah, so I found these optional solo rules that is specifically for basic fantasy, and it is by Lekis da Caverna, I think. I could be totally butchering that, but basically, I think these are what I'm gonna use. So for ability checks, when I roll a d20, for any like difficulty challenge like ratings, I'm probably gonna use just these 4. +2 would be simple, -2 would be hard, extreme would be -4. And so yeah, I'm probably gonna have certain tables that will be correlated with these particular ability checks. And then for PC, they will always go first in combat. Maybe I will have certain monsters where they might fight first. So yeah, I'm not sure yet. I think I do want to do more dexterity saves and checks more for the traps. But yeah, again, I'm like trying to. I really want to use this system, but there's a lot that I'm going to be like changing. And then for attacks, it would be so when the player would attack, it would actually do damage to the amount of hit dice that the monster has. So for example, if I hit a snake and this snake has 5 hit dice and I hit him with a 6, and let's say I have this table over here, so let's say I hit him with a 6, so that means I gave 2 points of damage. So that actually means that I have now attacked this snake for 2 points of damage, so now the snake is left with actually 3 hit dice. So that's kind of an example that I'm thinking about. And then I also loved this optional rule where you have hero points or hero fate points. I kind of got fate as an idea from the Kill Forth games, but I'm thinking like once a day you can use one of these in one session. So you can either reroll a die, you can cause the maximum amount of damage, you can avoid an attack, or you can have an automatic success on a certain save, for example. So yeah, so those are kind of the solo rules that I'm going to be thinking about more as I continue to build out Valodir. So yeah, I'm really excited. I love that this is also just like a huge art project for myself. And then I have these little like tokens, wooden tokens that are gonna represent the player. And so yeah, so that's kind of what I have right now for Valodir. And I did want to mention that my print and play solo dungeon crawling game, Dungeoneer for Hire, is currently being tested right now by one of my friends. And once he's done with any like feedback, I'm probably going to make some final edits, and then I will finally release it at the end of this month. So yeah, so stay tuned for Dungeoneer for Hire. But yeah, this is Valodir, the fantasy adventure sandbox game. I hope this is also inspiring you to try to make your own games. It's a lot of fun trying to kind of switch your mindset from being a player to actually being the one to design the game. It's a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying this creative outlet. So anyways, that is it for all of my updates. Till next time.